Hi boys and girls, it's great to be able to chat with you today. This week we're taking some time to look at the different houses on Luke Street. The different houses that Jesus was in or spoke about in Luke's book of the Bible, because Luke really wanted to write down everything that Jesus was doing so people could hear and see who Jesus really was. And so we've looked this week at how Jesus was in the rich man's house. And Jesus spent some time there where a lady came and washed his feet with perfume and dried his feet with her hair because she loved Jesus so much. We've looked at how Jesus told the story about the guest house where the Samaritan found a man who was beaten up in the road and cared for him so much, loved his neighbour so much that he gave him first aid and then took him to the guest house like a hotel, kind of like a hospital, for him to be looked after, but he paid the bill for that. He took all of the cost of that and was a really good neighbour. We've seen how Jesus went to the cheater's house and had dinner there with a man who'd stolen lots and lots of money off all of his neighbours. And whenever this man spent time with Jesus, his life was turned around and he gave back all of the money that he had stolen and even gave back more as a way of saying sorry. His life was changed because of Jesus. And we've looked at the different houses that Jesus was in towards the end of his life as he went to die and rise again from the dead. And today we're looking at just this little bit of time after Jesus rose from the dead, which we celebrate at Easter time, when Jesus died and rose again. But there's a little window of what happened that day. And so we're going to hear a story just now about what was happening on the day Jesus rose from the dead.
Two friends of Jesus walked quickly along the winding road to their country house. It was tea time on the day that Jesus had come back to life. But they didn't believe that Jesus was alive. They felt lonely without him and they were afraid. All of a sudden, Jesus was there, walking with them. But the setting sun was in their eyes and they didn't quite know who he was. "Why are you so sad?" Jesus asked. Well, they told Jesus that their very best friend, who was going to be king, had been killed and buried. "Now his body's vanished," they said, "and we've no idea where he is." When they reached the village, Jesus said, "Goodbye." "Don't go," they begged him. "It's late. Please stay the night." The house was dark, so they lit the little oil lamp. It didn't take them long to prepare the supper. There was only bread. They sat down at the table. Then Jesus let them see who he really was. He said grace and broke the bread. Suddenly they recognized him. They were just about to shout, "Jesus!" when he disappeared. They laughed and cheered and patted each other on the back. "I saw him," they called. "He's alive! He's not dead any longer! Hooray!" They wanted to tell Jesus' friends that he was alive and that they'd seen him. So they hurried out of their house and they rushed all the way back to Jerusalem. It was 7 miles away. The disciples were all together in an upstairs room, and the two friends shouted, "Jesus is alive! We've seen him!" Everyone began asking questions and talking, all at the same time. No one wanted to go to bed. Then suddenly, Jesus was standing there with them. Everyone went quiet. They thought he was a ghost, but Jesus let them feel his hands and his feet. "You can't touch a ghost." Jesus said, "Can I have something to eat?" And they watched Jesus eat some fish. Ghosts don't eat fish. Then they were very happy. Jesus told them to tell everyone that he is King of the world.
So today's story happens on Easter Sunday. Jesus has risen from the dead, but his followers don't really understand it. And so two of his followers are walking home. They're just walking home, and they feel sad and they wonder what's happening, because they've heard that Jesus rose from the dead, but they don't really understand what's happening. And in the middle of that moment, as they're walking back to their house, Jesus walks up just beside them. In the middle of everyday life, Jesus appears beside the two people who feel sad and confused. And Jesus appears beside them and walks along beside them, just chatting to them and seeing how they are, and they explain what they understand. And Jesus then teaches them what's really been happening. And then there's a point where it looks like Jesus is going to go in one direction, and they invite him into their house, which I'm going to do right now with yourselves. Come on in. And so the disciples come into the house together with Jesus, and they're about to have some dinner. And so the disciples invite Jesus in for dinner. And Jesus is in the house, and they're getting stuff ready, getting some pots and pans out. I would say they're putting the oven on, but I don't think they had the oven back then. But they're getting the pans out, getting the trays to make some dinner. But during all of this time, Jesus is explaining what's really been happening, because Jesus' followers are confused. They've been following Jesus, and he has died, but he has risen from the dead, but they don't really understand that. In fact, they don't even recognise Jesus. That's what the story says. And they're in the house, and Jesus is explaining to them that it's been God's plan all along, since the very beginning of the world, for God's Son Jesus to come, to save the world. And he will do that by dying on the cross, but also by rising again from the dead, because for God, death's not the end. If you're in God and you're friends with God, then death isn't the end. You get to live forever with God. And Jesus is explaining all of this to them. And the disciples are getting really quite excited, because they're beginning to understand that God's plan, God's loving plan for them from the very beginning of the time, is that whenever you're friends with God, you get to be part of God's family. And when you're in God's family, you get to live forever with God. That's really, really exciting. And the disciples still didn't really recognise who Jesus was, until it says in the Bible, just before they had dinner, Jesus broke some bread. And he broke some bread as they're getting ready to have their tea. And when he broke the bread, the disciples recognised him. It was like a miraculous moment, an instant of amazement where they went, "Oh, it's Jesus." And when they realised it was Jesus, automatically they were surprised and then so excited, because they realised that they now understood that Jesus died and rose again for them. And the first thing they wanted to do was to dash off. They wanted to go and tell other people about Jesus so they could understand too. And that's part of what we've been doing this week in Luke Street. It's trying to explain that we think Jesus is the Son of God, that he came with a loving plan to die and rise again so that we could be part of God's family, so that all of our sins and wrongdoing would be forgiven. There's a full picture of really good life whenever you're friends with Jesus. That's really what church life is all about. It's our hope that this week has been really good for you as you begin to think through what it would be to be friends with Jesus, but also to consider coming to some of our children's and youth stuff that'll begin in September in different forms depending on the restrictions. But we'd love you to come along to find out more about Jesus, but also so that you could be friends with Jesus and have Jesus be in charge of your life, because that's really what all of the leaders and all of the storytellers this week have been doing. Jesus has changed their life, and in the same way that in the story the followers of Jesus tell others, we're telling others too, because we think Jesus is the best way to live.
Against me. Welcome to the Big Holiday Bible Club quiz. I'm going to ask you questions based on the 5 different stories you have heard throughout the week. Let's see how well you've been listening. I wonder if we can get a high score. Let's give it a go. Okay, number 1, let's go. We learnt about a story on Monday night when Susie told us about how Jesus visited Simon's house. While he was there, a lady came and she did something a little bit unusual. She put something on his feet. Did she put water on Jesus' feet, foot cream, or perfume? Yes, I think you're right. I think it's perfume. Are we right? Oh, brilliant. Well done, boys and girls. We've got the first question correct. Wow, look at all those points. Okay, ready for question 2? When the lady put the perfume on his feet, what did Jesus do? Did he forgive the woman? Did he ask her to stop? Or did he end up washing his own feet? Can you remember? Of course, Jesus said that he forgave the woman. Yeah, well done, boys and girls. 2 right so far. Oh, what a great score. Okay, on to question 3. On Tuesday, we learnt about 2 sisters called Mary and Martha. They were very excited to hear that Jesus was coming to town and he was actually going to come to their house. What did Martha do when she heard Jesus was coming to her house? Did she go to town? Did she relax? Or did she start to cook and clean? Yes, she started to cook and clean for sure. Well done. Wow, look how many points we've got now, boys and girls. That's brilliant. Okay, question 4. While Jesus was at the house, what did he tell Martha to do? Did he say, come and sit with us? Did he say, go and make more food? Or did he say, do the dishes? Of course, Jesus told Martha to come and sit with him. Let's check it just to be sure. Fantastic, boys and girls. You are really doing well at this quiz. You've been listening. On Wednesday, we learned about a man called Zacchaeus. I wonder if you can remember what Zacchaeus' job was. Was he a doctor? Was he a tax collector? Or was he a teacher? I remember the people in the town didn't like him very much. Yes, tax collector, you're right. Well done. We haven't got a single question wrong yet. Brilliant work. Question 6. What did Zacchaeus, the tax collector, do in order to see Jesus? Because remember, he was a very small man. Did he stand on a hill? Did he climb a tree? Or did he wear a pair of stilts? Can you remember? Yes, I think he climbed a tree. Let's check it. Well done, boys and girls. Wow, we are getting a fantastic score. Bonus round? Oh, I wonder what's going to happen here. Which one shall we pick? Ooh, 200 points. Nice. Okay, question 7. On Thursday, Nathaniel told us about a special dinner that Jesus had with his disciples called the Last Supper. Now, while he was having that dinner, He said that somebody was going to betray him. And of course we know that later on they did. Can you remember who it was? Was it Judas, Peter, or John? Yeah, you're right. Of course it was Judas. You have been listening really carefully to all the stories so far. I must say, I'm impressed. Question 8. After that special supper, what happened then 3 days after Jesus died? Did the disciples leave town? Did Jesus rise again? Or did nothing happen and they all just carried on as normal? Of course, we know this story so well. After 3 days, Jesus rose again. Isn't that amazing? Okay, on to the questions then about tonight's story. We learnt about two friends who were walking on a road. Did the two friends feel sad? Did the two friends feel happy? Or did they feel excited? Can you remember what we were told? Yes, I think the men were very, very sad and upset. Let's try that. Well done. This is a very impressive score, boys and girls. Okay, and our last question. What did the friends do when they realised Jesus was alive? Did they tell only their next door neighbour? Did they keep it a secret? Or did they run back to Jerusalem and tell everyone? Can you remember? Yes, they ran back to Jerusalem. They were so excited they wanted everybody to know. Oh wow, boys and girls, what a brilliant score. Well done in that quiz, boys and girls. Some of those questions were tricky, but I bet you got on really, really well. I hope you have enjoyed this week at the Holiday Bible Club. I hope you've liked the activities, and most of all, I hope you've been able to learn more about Jesus and his amazing love for us through all the stories we've heard each night. If you've enjoyed this week, I would really encourage you to continue to join along at all our kids' events at Glengormley Presbyterian. Ask a grown-up to keep an eye on the church Facebook page for you. On that, they'll be able to see updates about events that are happening and things that are going on. And when it comes to the new school year in September, there will definitely be something going on for the kids, so I really hope you will come and join us again there. Have a great summer. Bye!